LIXT. We looked at this stock this morning. It gapped up pre-market on some positive news, and it seemed to be almost overextended in the pre-market. Clearly, that's what a lot of people had thought, and that's probably why there was a lot of short positions that got squeezed around the open. Pre-market jumped up to 380 and kind of consolidated in between 325 and 375, just kind of lightly stepping down. And then on the open, we didn't have too much volume. We had some good volume, more than the pre-market. Pre-market, we weren't seeing much, many candles above, in the 1 minute above, like a million. But on the open, we got some good volume, but price didn't really fluctuate that much. It is a lower float, so it's not that surprising that it can really make big jumps. But then we just, kind of reclaimed this 266 level, and then which was support in pre-market, then reclaimed VWAP, just kind of blew past through this 2.9 level, and it must have been a lot of people kind of, had stop losses at that $3 range, because once it covered that, you saw this huge volume come in, and it actually then ended up halting up. Usually things halt up when the price action is just so crazy, and that also, a contributing factor of that is usually then some automatic loss or stop loss orders that seem to get triggered. So, tons of orders probably got triggered at $3, and volume was just pouring in, so then it stopped, halt, resume, and just climbs up even further up, almost to 450. Then kind of bounces up even more so just with the momentum. Volume's kind of decreasing though as we get closer to 5. So then that's when you kind of see perhaps a turnaround point, and that ends up being the case. Flushes down to basically like the 410 level, which is kind of the area of consolidation where it found on its first push up, then just really kind of wicked up and down. Nothing really too consistent to really establish a trend. It's just really more of consolidation on this 410, 415 level. Volume's just decreasing, so then we see just a flush down once we broke that 4 level. It flushes down, breaks at 4, then just flushes through 4 through VWAP. Just the volume and the buyers weren't there to hold up this price. And like I said, close was 108 yesterday and made a huge move pre-market. That pre-market move was a pretty big move in itself. But then just on the open, saw the volume, short squeeze, consolidation, and then just kind of a flush down through VWAP. But then through the rest of the day, it kind of breaks down and is kind of almost bouncing between this 325 area and then VWAP, but it just then cannot hold that. Breaks down the 320 level, and then it's almost really in between, 290 and 320 for a little bit. But volume's decreasing this whole time essentially, and then especially from the open, and then kind of just a big flush. There must have been a big order that someone tapped out, and then it just breaks this 2.9. There's probably also some longs getting in on this consolidation, risking off the 2.9-ish level. But then this flush down breaks that just straight through. This is from basically 313 to 2.5. It's a huge move on the downside, and then it just really crawls to $2, and then just consolidates there, essentially just slowly fading the rest of the day. The crazy thing about this, or I shouldn't say crazy, but just the interesting thing is that when you really look at a different time frame, still positive on the day, or rather a gain from yesterday's close. You know, almost 70 cents. That's a big gain for a lot of people. I mean, intraday, you just have this huge swing from almost 5 to, you know, basically $2, a little over $2, $3 swing on a penny stock. It's huge percentage wise. I mean, I think this thing was up. It was like 200 some percent or something like that, or even more. I mean, 100%, it's like $2. You know, it's almost like 400 some percent. If you look at the daily, it did have a couple historical dates of kind of popping up and dropping. Nothing as significant as this. So this was definitely a crazy day for the stock. It's just, you know, I think if it had not broke the kind of initial risk off level for probably these pre-market shorts, you know, and then it ends up being busting from $3 to almost $5. I think, you know, consolidation to that $2 range was probably most likely anyways, just with a slow fade on the open to $2 and a fade at that psychological $2 range. We do have some historical at 2 roughly, so it's not, I mean, it's partially the $2 psychological but also historical. Let's look at ATNM. This thing had a bit of a volatile day as well. Just got some moves on the up and down, up and down. Lower float on biotech, that kind of seems to be the trend of the past few days. And this was up on some news. Historically, don't see that many days of, you know, gapping up or fading, so kind of tough to point out what it would do from just the historical standpoint. In terms of levels, you know, maybe we do have a level close to what we have closed at today. I mean, almost at 6.5 level. We kind of see that almost as an inflection point throughout the day. I mean, if we take a look at pre-market, decent volume, nothing too outstanding, but made a huge move to $8 and then just absolutely gets crushed, bounces off that 6.5, 6.57-ish level. You know, just kind of a little bit of just people probably covering from pre-market shorts, and then just breaks down on the open. It ends up recovering, you know, or kind of retracing some of that, or rather recovering some of that. But then, it's again, once we get that close to that 6.5, 6.57 level, you see a huge volume coming in and just burst through. That's probably a lot of, you know, risk off people on the open. And then that's why you see this huge move up from essentially 6.5 over the course of a couple minutes to 7.5. You know, volume was there. I mean, maybe on one of the candles we have close to 1 million shares. It's nothing tremendously, nothing tremendous in terms of volume, but relative in the stock, very good. And then just can't hold volume, you know, tapers off. We kind of see like a spike up to 7.15-ish, and then a fade, and then just a big old candle from 6.85 to almost 7.50. That's what that big volume is. But then it just fades off. Price action follows. Kind of break that 6.5 level and kind of consolidate, but then break over, break view up. And it's really just almost up and down. I mean, if we kind of look at this 5-minute chart, you can kind of see these almost both wedging ascending and descending lines in terms of support and resistance. Kind of almost converging into where they're going right now. So it's interesting to see, kind of curious as to what is going to happen. I mean, they're both, you know, highs are getting lower, but then the lows are getting higher. it could go up, could go down after this kind of convergence points. I think it just really would need the volume in order to do that, and I don't see that right now. So my guess would be that it's probably either just going to consolidate sideways or possibly break down after this, unless buyers and volume step in. So it's very just wedging in to this convergence points of it's really almost that same 6.5 level, really, that's been an inflection point and a point of consolidation. And I think ultimately one to watch for tomorrow. Doesn't seem to be getting much action in the after hours. We'll see in the pre-market if it does. If it can hold the 6.5 level pre-market and kind of creep up on the open, you might see another pop up. I don't think anything near $8, but possibly a move up. Then let's look at ATER. This one we kind of were watching last week as it made some moves. And today, just at the end of the day, it's just made a monster move. I think a lot of shorts, possibly positions, have gotten squeezed here. It's a lower float, but nothing micro. I think if you look on the daily, we kind of had a pop up and hard RSI almost to that 5 area. And then it was kind of selling off lower volume, so probably a lot of people short, anywhere from 5 all the way really down to 450. We had a previous point of 4.8 as consolidation. I think if we look, it really was almost this break of 4.5-ish, 4.57 when we see this thing really move. It did just make a really a big move from VWAP all the way till now. Sometimes that's just coincidence, and then also triggers more shorts to cover, and I think that's what happened. Just kind of had, because there's not much in terms of volume directing this price action, but it's once we get to that 4.5, then you see the volume come in, just burst through. So there's probably a few people shorting up risking out that 4.5 level that had to cover, and then this longer term support at I believe 4.8, 483, just burst through that at the end of the day with huge volume, and that's when you just see tons of people cover and this huge move up after hours. It's basically 550. It's kind of consolidated right now, that 525 level. If it can hold this, I think if it holds 5 and can hold 5 in the after hours and pre-market, and then maybe see some volume on the open, might see a trend on the upside, because there might be some more people or possibly some bigger parties at play that have bigger positions that still need to exit based off the price. It's just this on the daily, it's had so much action over the past week. It might not be tons of huge institutional shorts. You probably would have seen that action earlier, but there still could be some bigger parties that have big positions that would still need to cover if this thing is, say above 5 and making moves on the open. So it holds 5, maybe possibly a move on the upside. If it doesn't, you might see almost a sideways consolidation and then more fade. This thing has really made a move off of not too much volume relative to the past few days. So it'll be interesting to see in the morning. Definitely one to watch.